from New York State and the minority leader here in the United States Senate. Chuck, thanks so much.
Thank you, Bernie, and it's great working with you on this issue. We care a lot about it. This happened when Bernie was talking about this. I went over to him and I said, I'm outraged by these buybacks. And we said, let's do something together. So we're working on putting legislation in. You know, American workers are very productive. Well, why haven't they gotten the benefits of that productivity? Why are their wages flat, their benefits flat, they have pensions are declining? And one of the major reasons, well, the major reason is that corporate America, which used to care about workers and communities in addition to their shareholders, now is just for the shareholders, maximizing stock price with no help to the workers. And the way they've done that more than anything else is with these stock buybacks. When a company buys back its stocks, it benefits two groups. It benefits the CEOs because they can claim they got the shares up because when they buy it back, there's a smaller amount, the price goes up. And it benefits the shareholders. And the shareholders are a very, very rarefied group. About 85% of all the stock in America is owned by the top 10%. Right. So this doesn't work. And we think, very simply, our legislation is going to say, unless the company does something for the workers, $15 minimum wage, health benefits, pensions. It outrages me that these companies do buybacks while they don't have not fulfilled their pension obligations that they owe, and other good things, training, and that. They can't do buybacks, plain and simple. The benefit has to go to the workers, and that will be better for the companies, better for the workers, and better for America. So
absolutely.
Bernie,
well, I agree with everything that Chuck said. And let me give you one example. The Walton family that owns Walmart is the wealthiest family in America. I think their wealth is somewhere around $170 billion.
We're Madison High School graduates. We're not at that level. Madison, Brooklyn, New York.
But despite their extraordinary wealth, what we're seeing all across this country are Walmart workers being paid wages that are very, very low. People cannot afford the health care benefits that the company provides. Scheduling is poor. And what we are saying to, among others, the wealthiest family in this country, treat your workers with respect. Now, Walmart has recently initiated a 2-year process for $20 billion in buybacks. And that will make the people, the Walton family and others, much, much wealthier. And what Chuck and I are saying is you're doing just fine right now. Why don't you start paying attention to the workers who are not doing so well? And that means raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. That means provide at least 7 days of paid sick leave. Can you imagine workers who have no paid sick leave? It means deal with the retirement issue that you just raised. It means deal with health care issues. All right? In other words, be a responsible employer. Take decent care of your employees, and don't use this whole process just to enrich people who are already phenomenally wealthy.
And, you know, Bernie, it's not Walmart. If it was just Walmart, it'd be one thing.
It's not just Walmart.
It's almost all of major corporate America. So if you take the 500 biggest companies on the S&P index, and you look from 2008, I believe it was, to today, 83% of their profits went to stock buybacks. That's over 50%. And another 30% to dividends, which is basically does the same thing. Right. And it's not in the specific legislative proposal we're going to make, but we also have to do something about dividends because we don't want them not to do buybacks and then just put it all into dividends. That also doesn't benefit the workers and the communities. And so we'll probably have to do something on the tax side about dividends. But can you imagine that? 83% of the profits of the major companies of America went to buybacks and dividends. And that leaves 17% for the workers, for productivity, for new investment.
Right. And by the way, this is at exactly the same time where some of these companies are shutting down installations here in the United States and laying workers off.
Exactly.
All right. Now, we were talking a moment ago about really an astounding fact, and that is above and beyond what Chuck just said. In the last year, my understanding is there has been close to $1 trillion in stock buybacks.
$1 trillion. It just passed $1 trillion in the last few weeks.
Think about that, folks. $1 trillion in stock buybacks, and yet these companies say, oh, we just don't have the money to pay workers a living wage, provide decent health benefits, provide sick leave. That's nonsense. And I should also add in the midst of all this that the latest numbers I saw is that the CEOs of these large corporations, Chuck, are making about 350 times what their employees
and
make.
In the 70s and 80s, sort of the golden age of American workers, it was like 20 or 30 times.
Exactly.
And I'd make one other point that really got Bernie and I going on this. So we had the Trump tax cuts aimed almost, a huge disproportion at the
83%
wealthy,
going to the top 1%.
at the wealthy and wealthy, powerful corporations, right? And you remember what Trump and the Republicans were saying.
Oh, yes.
This will bring more money to workers. They're going to get $4,000 increase in pay. They'll create new jobs. Here in America, we heard all the rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. Now we find out. Where'd all the money go? Stock buybacks. So one of the good things we didn't win the tax bill, although every Democrat voted against it. We sort of put a dagger through the heart of this idea, cut taxes on the rich, cut taxes on the corporations, and workers will prosper. That's over. We have seen that with this tax cut. And what we're saying is change the structure around so the workers have to benefit. Don't let them do buybacks until they help their workers. They help their communities.
What Chuck is talking about is, as I think most viewers know, is the trickle-down theory of economics. And it's a fraud. It makes the very, very rich richer, while most working families do not gain any benefits at all. So bottom line here is the time is long overdue for us to end the disgrace of workers in this country today earning less in real dollars than they did in 1973, Chuck.
Right.
So you know why people are angry out there? Why people are frustrated? They're working 2 or 3 jobs. They're going nowhere in a hurry. They're worried about their kids. And then you're seeing $1 trillion of stock buybacks for these major corporations.
And what's happened is that corporate America has become just in slavish devotion to shareholders and nothing else. You could say that, 50 years ago, they said, well, we have to pay some attention to our workers. If a big company was in Peoria, they felt some obligation to keep the community life of Peoria going. That's all gone because they say, our shareholders won't want that. That will decrease the value to them. That has got to change. And here's an astounding thing related to what Bernie had to say about 1973. American workers have stayed very productive. Right. In other words, they're producing more goods per hour, more goods, more services per hour than they have. But they're not seeing the benefit. The benefit of all of that hard work and productivity, where America's GDP is going up, doesn't go to the workers. Our proposal says, you want to do these stock buybacks? Benefit the workers, benefit the communities first.
Right. And this takes us to the broader issue of the grotesque level of income and wealth inequality in this country. We got 3 people who own more wealth than the bottom half of America. Right. We got 1/10 of 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 90%. We got to deal with that issue. And the CEOs of major corporations and their boards have got to understand that they have a responsibility that goes to people other than just a handful
It's one of the,
stockholders.
if you ask me, the greatest issues we face in this country are climate and the planet, are health care and getting benefits to people who need it, and the maldistribution of wealth in America. And that last one hasn't been talked about enough.
Well, some of us have talked
Bernie's
about it.
been, to your credit, but I mean in the public debate.
Absolutely.
And it's got to get out there, and this legislation, which we're going to push very hard, will help get that debate out there.
And we need your help. All right, we can't do it alone. I'm delighted that Chuck is on board, and we're going to work together. And I think we're going to have a number of other Democratic senators on board.
Lots, yeah.
But this does not succeed unless millions of people begin to get involved in the process, demand that we have an economy that works for all, not just wealthy CEOs. We can do this. I have zero doubt, Chuck, that the overwhelming majority of the American people are supportive of our
they hate, when they hear about what these stock buybacks are, they really dislike them. They hate them. And we just have to start it now, as Bernie said, we need everybody to start calling, writing, tweeting, you name it, and say, we got to get rid of these buybacks. We got to make sure that the workers benefit first. Then they can do what they want with the rest
we're
of their
working on
money.
the final details
of
of
the
the bill, so
legislation.
we'll probably introduce it very shortly. But please stay involved in this process. We need your help. The American people are sick and tired of a grossly unfair economy which benefits the people on top. And what Chuck and I are trying to do is hold some of these CEOs and these corporations accountable, and to remember that the people who made their wealth for them are the workers, and they cannot continue to be pushed aside.
You know, working families, in conclusion, don't demand much. They say to themselves, if I work hard, I want to be doing better 10 years from now than I'm doing today, and I want to have some assurance my kids will be doing better than me. That's the American dream. That's what 200 years of Americans believed through good times and bad. People are stopping. They're not so sure they believe that anymore. And it's this kind of stuff that stands in the way. We got to get rid of it.
And Chuck, the reason that people don't believe it is the reality that they
Yes,
live every day.
they
are
don't-
worried
yes.
that their kids will, in fact, have a lower standard of living.
As you
than they
said,
do.
Bernie, when your income is no greater in real dollars, the average working family, than it was in 1973, and yet our GDP has, I don't know,
Exploded.
doubled, tripled,
Right.
something is the matter. We got to fix it.
Okay, good.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
We are both from Madison High School, Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to conclude by telling a story. Bernie was on the track team. They came in first in the city. I was on the basketball team. We were terrible. And our motto at Madison was, we may be small, but we're slow.
What can I say in response?
How can I get? I had to get that one in.